Hello and welcome to another edition of Maury County Now. Maury County Now is a community news show covering the events, ideas, groups, and happenings in and around Maury County. First up, Columbia has a new city manager in town. Maury County Now recently sat down with Columbia's new city manager, Tony Massey, about his homecoming, the upcoming issues facing Columbia, and the 2013-2014 budget session.
Hello, my name is Tony Massey. I'm the new city manager here in Columbia, and I've been in this position for a couple of weeks now. And I'm originally from Columbia, so this is a unique and quite a great opportunity for me to be able to come back home. Whenever the Columbia city manager position would become available, I would always ask myself whether or not it was the right time, personally or professionally, to try to come back. And for one reason or another, it wasn't. But when the recent vacancy occurred at this point and stage in my professional career, it made all the sense in the world for me to try to come back home. Even though I've been gone from Columbia for a long time, the community has never left me. It's always had a special place in my heart. I've been very busy these first couple of weeks and will continue to be so for quite some time. So time management right off the bat is one of the biggest challenges for me, is trying to be able to make sure that I've got an appropriate amount of time to be able to address an issue or meet folks or to go out and go to different meetings. So trying to juggle all that at the same time and prioritize that has been a little bit of a challenge, but I knew that when I was going to come back that it was going to be busy. We're getting ready to get into the city budget, which happens every spring, and something that I've worked on over the years in my different city management positions. And it's always a challenge to match expenditures to revenues, and that's ultimately what you have to do every year, is get those to match up. Now, as far as the city of Columbia goes, we've got some unique challenges in front of us in that we're not immune to what's happened nationwide with the economic slowdown, and that's reflected in the revenue growth of the city. Our sales tax revenues are down from where they were several years ago, and the property tax values are down too. So that makes it that much tougher and that much harder to be able to match that revenue to expenditure. So that's going to be a big challenge to us as we focus on the different big ticket items that are out there in front of the city, to prioritize them and to determine the ways in which we're going to fund them in the upcoming budget. One of the most important things that we can do to try to raise the property values is to encourage future private sector investment. Because at the end of the day, that is the name of the game. That is what will improve the existing property values, provide the opportunity for future revenue growth for the community, and just send the right signal that the Columbia is going in the right direction. One example of that would be is to sit down, for example, with residential developers and find out what their needs are, what can we do to encourage them to build future subdivisions inside the city of Columbia, so that we can have positive growth moving forward and reverse the trend that we saw from the 2010 census, when the city actually went a little bit backwards on population. We don't want to see that happen again. We want to move forward. I'd like to say that it's really been sort of a dream of mine to come back to Columbia, having been gone for so long. And as I mentioned earlier in the interview, even though I've been gone for a long time, the community has never left me. I never really thought that this would happen, and so besides the professional opportunity that this represents for myself, there's a lot of personal reasons for me to be back here too, and that's, for me personally, that's a pretty neat thing. So it's good, just like they said in the Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home. Well, certainly I've always had an open door policy in the city manager's office everywhere I've been, so anyone that has any concerns, issues, questions, feel free to call down to City Hall or just to come by, drop by and visit. And the door's always open.
Adam Southern is back to teach us a lesson on a particularly fascinating piece about the history of education in Maury County. Get your pencils ready for this next edition of Historic Maury County.
Hello, I'm Adam Southern, and this is another edition of Historic Maury County. and I saw the buttercups blooming, so I guess spring is finally here. And it was the spring in the 1830s when another family saw the flowers blooming on their way to Columbia. It was Reverend Smith with his family in tow as they made their way from Virginia to Columbia. Reverend Smith was going to be the new headmaster of the Columbia Female Institute. And the Female Institute was really just a beautiful castle-like building. It had towers and battlements, ivy clinging off of its walls, just a beautiful building. And this early school for girls was really a very prestigious institution. Girls from all over the United States were sent to Columbia for fine education. And Reverend Smith worked as headmaster of this school until 1851. And then he ran into a little bit of trouble. A young lady at the school found out that a relative had died, so he sits down on the bed beside her to comfort her. He said he put his arm around her and a, there pat on the shoulder. She said he took it a lot farther. And in those days, any accusation like that could be just treacherous for your reputation. So the church found out about it. Columbia Female Institute was an Episcopal girls' school, so the church charged Reverend Smith with conduct unbecoming of a gentleman. And the town really rallied behind him because they did not believe these accusations. And when the town rallied behind Reverend Smith, you see the Episcopal Bishop, Odie, being run out of town basically because the town had turned against him, as he wrote in his diary. And the townspeople were so much in favor of Reverend Smith that they offered to make a collection, build him his own school. But he refused. He said, "I will do this on my own." So in 1852, Reverend Smith opened the doors to the Columbia Athenaeum. And the Athenaeum sat really next door to the Institute, and it faced the best direction, south. And it operated right through the Civil War. And when the Civil War came to Columbia, Reverend Smith had to flee. He was a Confederate patriot, but he was born in Vermont. And being Yankee born, when the Yankee soldiers arrived, he knew that they would put him in jail as a traitor. So when the Yankees came into town, he sneaks out, goes south to Montgomery, or Mobile area. And he works on several special projects for the Confederate Army, and one was building a submarine. And he was instrumental in designing the first submarine for warfare use, the Hunley. And we actually have a patent that he filed with the Confederate government, only one of a handful still remaining. And we have a copy of that at the Athenaeum in Columbia. But when the war's over, he returns back to Columbia to take over the Athenaeum Girls' School once again. And the South was really destitute. The war had taken a toll on the South. Everybody was impoverished. But he let any daughter of a Confederate veteran come to the Athenaeum for free if they could not pay. He was just that much of a Confederate patriot and Southern sympathizer that he couldn't see these Southern girls going without education. And the school operated right up until 1914, when the city bought the Athenaeum as a public school. And in 1915, they tore down the old Athenaeum School and they built Central High School on that site. And all that remains of the Athenaeum today is the Athenaeum Rectory, which is open for tours Tuesday through Saturday. So if you haven't been there, go see them. It's a very historic, beautiful site, and it's unique in its architecture. You won't see another home like that in Maury County. And come by the library to see us. Check out this book called A Southern Saga by Linda Gupton. And it's about the Athenaeum and the Smith family. And we also have other things you can check out and do at the library as well, so come see us. Thank you.
Maury Regional Medical Center has opened a new cancer center at the Columbia Mall. We spoke with Director of Infusion and Women's Imaging, Dana Salters, about the center, its amenities, and how it helps patients and families through the healing process.
Hello, I'm Dana Salters, Director of Infusion and Women's Imaging at Maury Regional Medical Center. Today, we're at our cancer center at the mall location in Columbia. Maury Regional Medical Center decided to open a cancer center at the mall after our number of patients continued to grow. Our CEO, Alan Watson, after evaluating several locations, decided that the Columbia Mall was perfect. It offered the much needed space as well as ample parking for our patients. The Cancer Center at the mall opened in June of 2012. With more than 40,000 square feet of space, the facility houses the medical practice for family health group oncology as well as an infusion center. The infusion center offers chemotherapy for our cancer patients as well as an array of other services including hydration. The Cancer Center offers numerous amenities such as a Cancer Resource Center sponsored by the American Cancer Society. Also, we host an I Can Cope class that assists families and patients going through cancer. Other things that are available here, such as the water feature behind me and the healing garden, were given by the generous donations of people like Mr. and Mrs. Bill Walter, Mr. and Mrs. Con Morales, and Mr. Robert Otwell. In addition to the Maury Regional Breast Cancer Support Group, the Cancer Center hosts Coping with Cancer. That's a class designed for patients and their loved ones who are undergoing cancer treatment and just need the added support that a group can bring. Previously, the practice of medical oncology was housed in our medical office building on the campus of Maury Regional Medical Center. However, we completely outgrew that site. So, as a result of that, the mall location is now perfect for us. Traditionally, there are two different types of physicians who treat cancer: radiation oncologists and medical oncologists. The radiation oncologists remained housed in our radiation therapy center at the hospital. However, the medical oncologists, which include the practice of Doctors Messenger, Woodley, and Jameson, have moved to our mall location. And as a result of this, our patients can now see their medical oncologist and move quickly for their infusion or treatment here in the infusion clinic. The Maury Regional Healthcare Foundation helps hundreds of patients each year. Through the generosity of donors, the foundation assisted us in the design of this beautiful building. There are still naming opportunities for this building and other opportunities through the Maury Regional Healthcare Foundation.
He's got soul, literally. He's got tons of shoe soles. And Bob Harris of Bob Shoes is here to save yours. Jonathan Hickerson puts us in another man's shoes in this edition of Back Road Rambling.
Welcome to another edition of Back Road Rambling. I'm your host, Jonathan Hickerson. Today we're at Bob Shoes with Bob Harris in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. Bob is a modern day cobbler, and he claims he can save your soul, of your shoe that is. Let's check it out.
Well, I'm Bob Harris, and we're in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee, on the street of Bluegrass Avenue, 129 Bluegrass. I grew up in a little town of Centerville. In my family, I'm number 14 of the children. I'm the last born, I'm the last living. But I shined shoes on the street of Centerville, 8 and 9 years old for a dime pair. I've just always called it shoe repairman myself because that's about what it makes up to be. But of course, back in the early days, it was more so cobbler comes under the same head, and for as I'd call it, be a shoe repairman. But I still try to do big percentage. Some of the stuff brought in today, though, is made out of the wrong kind of stuff and all, falling all to pieces. Sometimes I just don't turn down much, but try to help put it back together or whatever. But when I was in Nashville, below bearing belt, and I got to doing all this corrective work, I wound up 3 brace shops, contract with crippled children's home, and had about 12 foot doctors. Like I say, most of them wrote out a prescription line. This man, I believe he was from Kentucky. I forgot what year it is, of course. But they'd send him and he'd bring the shoe. He was walking, if I'm not mistaken, with crutches and pretty much carrying one leg. And we started, whatever the doctor say, building up a shoe. Well, as we went along, he finally got down to like one crutch. Later on, got down one walking stick. We finally had to build him up about 3 or 3.5 inches or so. You know, pretty good build up, pretty big. He got where he could walk without any sticks or crutches. But now stuff like that makes you feel good if you had a hand in helping somebody turn their life around to something better. I've never forgotten about that man, although I've seen a lot of different shape, form, and fashion of, you know, people's feet maybe, or been down here on the street about around over 52 years this past January, and which is a long time to some people, but after you get old as me, that's not many years.
The upcoming State of Maury County address featuring city and local officials will be held April 30th at 5 p.m. at the Northfield Workforce and Development Conference Center in Spring Hill. For more information on this event, contact the Maury Alliance. Thanks for watching Maury County Now, and we'll see you next time.